CS, and CARICOM, CARIFORUM, Ministry of Equity, Social Justice, and Empowerment. Today, you are here, you're going to witness a lively and intoxicating discussion on how we are going to transition to citizen security. But before we start the proceedings, we need to put some housekeeping matters in place. You are being streamed live, you're on Facebook, so around the region, persons are witnessing greatness happening in St. Lucia. So I would like to applaud the ministry for giving RSS the support for ensuring that this panel discussion happen in St. Lucia. At this point in time, I would like to call on Deacon Alexander of the Roman Catholic denomination to lead us in prayers. I also, on behalf of Deacon Alexander, he asked me to apologize profusely on his behalf for not being properly attired, as there is a special way that prayers are delivered. But we know that he's a man of God and he's going to be speaking from the heart. So welcome, Mr. Alexander.
Can we please stand for the prayer? Thank you, moderator. I know the Lord will hear my prayer, even though I had 2 minutes notice to be here this morning. Attitude of prayer, everybody. Heavenly Father, we greet you this morning in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. We thank you, dear Lord, for all the blessings you have showered on us thus far. We thank you for bringing us together this morning to discuss this very important matter, especially as it regards to St. Lucia. We ask you to bless the panel, bless everyone here, and direct their thoughts, their words, and their deliberation, so that whatever happened here this morning will be for the benefit of our people we are here to represent. Lord God, look with love on your servants who commit themselves in your name and bow before you in worship and ask for your blessing and your guidance. Help them to accomplish what is good, what is important, and what is beneficial for the citizens, that they may always remember your works and your commands, and eagerly embrace you at all times. We ask you to give directions, even to the questions and the answers here this morning. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray, as we pray together the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine the kingdom, the power, and the glory, one God, forever and ever. And the people say, Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Deacon Alexander. You're excused. At this point, I would like to call the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, Constable Fontenelle and Constable Griffith, to lead us to the national anthem. And it is going to take the form of steel pan music coming from the best band in the entire Caribbean and Latin America. Thank you. You may be seated. You know, a thought just crossed my mind. You know, I have a big head, so sometimes I think as things happen. You know, I think there's a greater role for the police band as we move that transition to citizen security. So, Mr. Commissioner, we need to ensure that the band is properly utilized in the new first. At this point, I would like to welcome the Honorable Roman Gill Francis, Senator with responsibility for Home Affairs, Justice, National Security.
Good morning to all. Members of the head table, Commissioner of Police, Mr. Severin Mosheri, Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs and National Security, Mr. Ricky Quinlan, Lieutenant Colonel Brian Roberts, Director of Training, RSS Headquarters, Mrs. Rhea Reed Bowen, Program Coordinator, RSS Headquarters, Mr. Vernon O'Brien, Project Manager, RSS EU 10 EDF Project, Dr. Peter K.B. Saint-Jean, Associate Professor and Chair, Department of Sociology, North Park University, Chicago, USA, Mrs. Sharon Gardner-Hippolyte, Deputy Head of the POMENDU, Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Miguel Trim, UNDP Representative, Dr. Mashama Seeley, Superintendent of Police, our honored Master of Ceremonies, Superintendent Ronald Phillip. I also want to recognize my Director of the Forensic Lab, Ms. Clark from the Special Branch, and the media, who are very important to what is happening at this morning. Thank you for coming to this momentous occasion. The Regional Security System, RSS, in collaboration with the Department of Home Affairs, National Security and Justice, and the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, are jointly hosting this panel discussion on the topic, transitioning the police from a state-centered approach to a citizen-oriented approach to security. The forum has been purposefully designed so that you, the general public, including persons from various departments, may feel free to walk in, participate, and contribute to the discussion. The panel discussion was made possible for the RSS 10th European Development Fund program of activities, which seeks to contribute towards capacity building and institutional responses to crime, including the illicit trafficking of drugs. Today's discussion is based on transitioning to citizen security. For me as Minister for Justice, Home Affairs and National Security, the Honorable Prime Minister and my cabinet colleagues, this is more than just a buzzword. This is our focus, but we cannot accomplish our goal without you, the citizenry, and the police being on the same page. I'm therefore very happy to stand in solidarity with the RSS and the Royal St. Lucia Police Force as they seek to implement action that will strengthen law enforcement and border security in RSS member states. I would like also to recognize the support of the European Union for the significant funding support under the 10th EDF. Citizen security, according to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, deals primarily with, and I quote, the right to security from crime or interpersonal or social violence, end of quote. Even when it is not expressly protected under the international system of human rights law, citizen security is enshrined in the legislation so that the right to such protection can be inferred, and as indeed the obligation of the state, so guarantee the security of each individual. Excuse me. To those who are skeptical that we are not sufficiently sensitized to this, we are happy to have this forum ongoing in St. Lucia. The Carib Secure Program and other islands of the region are also involved. You need to forgive me because I'm just recovering from the flu. The Royal St. Lucia Police Force has its cadre of initiatives which deals with citizen security, and now we are even more delighted to be associated with the RSS on this initiative. Our young people appear to be the perpetrators and victims of serious crime. As a government, we have introduced the Youth Empowerment Program, YEP, which is a $2.8 million US program. There are certain takeaways I want to leave with you, irrespective of you being in conflict with anyone or not. As set forth in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of his person or her person. And this must be respected heavily by both law enforcement and you, the citizenry. Transitioning the police force to a citizen security approach, as I've indicated, is not an alien concept to us. But there must be certain levels of respect for each other that comes implicitly with this journey. There is a power dynamic that must be skillfully managed so that it does not become a weapon against the citizens nor the police. We need to respect each other. Everyone has rights, not just you or me. We cannot conveniently forget the rights of others. Therefore, we must find a middle ground of partnership between the police and the citizens so we can work together to achieve and attain our objectives of less criminal activity, less homicides, and peace and safety for all. I like to use the scenario of a man who is playing his music loudly in his vehicle at his house or at his house, but he's been a nuisance to the neighbors who also have the right to enjoy some quiet time at their homes. So what is the compromise? The middle ground is not to engage in trouble, but to play your music at a reasonable decibel that you can entertain yourself but not disturb or deafen others. So in all deliberations today, remember the underpinning basis of citizen security is to act without prejudice to others' rights. You will hear from our panelists, and you will hear from our police and from the RSS. But more importantly, they will hear from you. And I believe this exchange will go a long way in re-evaluating ourselves and our behavior in whatever capacity we are attending this discussion. Today, we, the government, and I'm sure the Commissioner of Police and the RSS will take everything that is salient into consideration at the policy and operational levels to undertake the governance aspect of things, but we all have to take responsibility for moving this very significant direction with every seriousness. On that note, I want to thank you very much, and I do have a fruitful panel discussion. But before going, I want to particularly thank the panel because I know it's not going to be easy for them. I see some very bright faces in the audience, and I know the questions are going to be coming hard and fast. I must apologize, I didn't recognize my PS in the Ministry of Justice, Maura Felix, so welcome PS, and I hope you make a contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. The Minister spoke about respect, commitment, partnership, and this is exactly what is needed whilst we transition into a citizen-based approach. Today we are having a discourse under the theme, transitioning to citizen security. We are here under the auspices of the regional security system and the European Union. We are blessed to have the support of the RSS 10th European Union Development Fund, and this is one of the many panel discussions that have taken place in member states of the RSS. I was privy to being a member of the audience in Antigua, and I can tell you the panelists left me with a burning desire to be part of the movement to transitioning to citizen security. Succinctly put, state action should really be citizen-centric, citizen-focused. The citizens should really be the ones at the forefront of taking a proactive approach to minimize the levels or rather address the human insecurities that we are faced with in our daily lives. There is no denying that over the last 20 years or so, the Caribbean and Latin America has seen increases in violent and heinous crimes. We are now faced with non-traditional threats. One such threat is hurricanes. It has the potential to undermine our entire security apparatus, both from a policing standpoint and a citizen standpoint, in that of elevating levels of human insecurity. It is my hope that the panelists will be able to adequately revitalize that spirit in you, so that when we leave here today, there will be a genuine call to action, and that this panel discussion will not be seen as another talk shop. And the Minister has expressed government's commitment in working towards that regard. Today you will be hearing presentations from persons who are all qualified in their respective fields. And I must tell you, those persons will not just pluck from trees, you know. These are persons who are actually practitioners, experienced, qualified practitioners. I see a balance of youth and seniority at the table. So that's good for the business of security. Dr. Moshama Seeley will be providing you with a local overview of how the organization, the Royal Central Police Force, intends to transition to citizen security. Ms. Sharon Gardner-Hippolyte will present on the criminal justice system and the required transformations for adoption to a citizen security approach. Mr. Miguel Trim presentation will focus on evidence-based decision-making and improved security. And Dr. Peter Seja, our brother from Dominica, will provide guidance on transitioning the police from a state-centered approach to a citizens-oriented approach to security. So, each panelist will be given 20 minutes to make their presentation. They will be given 20 minutes to make their presentation. Panelists, take note. Prior to panelists making a presentation, I will give you a brief insight into each presenter. At the end of the presentations, the floor will be open to the audience. There will be a question and answer segment for approximately 75 minutes. Now, as the moderator, I am Ronald Philip, so I expect you to challenge, critique, offer different perspectives or recommendations. They don't know the answers. We are part of the process of change. So I expect you to critique, challenge, and offer different perspectives. This provides you the opportunity to be part of that transitioning into a citizen security-based approach to our national security apparatus. Our first presenter will be Dr. Moshama Seeley. Dr. Moshama Seeley is a superintendent of police. She's a St. Lucian by birth. She attended the Caribbean Union College in Trinidad from 1993 to 1997 and graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration with an emphasis in management. She tutored for 1 year and joined the Royal Central Police Force in June 1998, which makes her about 21 years in service, meaning that she's a veteran in the organization. She graduated from the police training school with the second highest accumulative score and attained the best turnout recruit. In 2006, she completed an LLB with honors with Wolverhampton University, an MBA with the University of Liverpool, and an executive certificate in leadership. In 2007, she was seconded to the Central Liaison Office, RSS, as an assistant staff officer, plans. In 2008, she was transferred to the Operations and Training Cell as the assistant staff officer, operations, disaster. At the Regional Security System headquarters, she coordinated meetings, conducted trainings, workshops, planning exercise, and was responsible for disaster mitigation within the RSS headquarters, in addition to mobilizing the CARICOM Disaster Relief Unit when required. In 2010, she mobilized the CARICOM Disaster Relief Unit to Haiti to provide humanitarian assistance after the earthquake. Dr. Seeley has distinguished herself in several areas and has achieved many firsts as a woman police officer. She is the first person and female to join the police force with a degree, the first female commandant of the Police Force Academy, the first female from St. Lucia to be detached to the RSS as a staff officer, and the first female staff officer to the Commission of Police in the organization. The first officer and female to attain a doctoral degree. She serves as St. Lucia representative on the RSS Education Committee from 2011 to 2015. In 2015, she was the second runner-up for Top Caribbean Career Move in Regional Recognition Awards Program from Amalgamated Security Services. And this year, she was the winner of the category for the Top Caribbean Career Move. I present Dr. Lushama Sile.
Thank you, Superintendent Philip, for that introduction. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to adopt the protocol established in order to commence my presentation, because I only have 20 minutes.
Dr. K.P. St. Jean, Mrs. Sharon Gardner-Hippolyte, and representatives of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force at the Castries Town Hall on Friday the 20th of September at 11 a.m. The regional security system, with support from the European Union, will be conducting a panel discussion at the Castries Town Hall. The regional security system, with support
I hope that does not take into my 20 minutes, MC. Will you put it into slideshow, please? It's not working for me. Okay. My presentation this morning is on the local overview of the transition to citizen security. The aims of this presentation are as follows: to examine transition to citizen security in St. Lucia, past, present, and future, and to discuss the role of citizens when it comes to citizen security. So I'll commence with a quote from Mr. Nelson Mandela: "Safety and security does not just happen. They are a result of collective consensus and public investment. We owe our children, the most vulnerable citizens in our society, a life free of violence and fear." So as we can see from this map, the Caribbean is located strategically between South America, which is the supplier for narcotics such as cocaine, and the consumers, that is the United States, Canada, and Europe. Some of the challenges faced by the Caribbean region, because we are a transshipment point, includes the fact that our borders are porous, in that our territorial waters and coastlines are vast for our size, and in some cases it is difficult for law enforcement to access easily. Additionally, governments in the Caribbean have limited funding to afford or to fund law enforcement coverage of the entire territorial waters when it comes to the Caribbean islands. Our criminal justice system is overwhelmed. That is the police, the courts, because we have backlog cases, and the prisons or correctional facilities, which around the Caribbean are considered to be overcrowded, mainly because a little less than half of the persons who are incarcerated are there because they're on remand. Additionally, we're seeing in the Caribbean seasonal tourist inflows. We have influxes of tourists that are even larger than our population, and so it poses a challenge for police to ensure the safety of everyone in the island. The security environment in the region faced new and emerging threats to its security architecture, and old threats were assuming new and multidimensional forms, exposing the region to more vulnerabilities and security dilemmas. These threats were categorized as critical, emerging, and other threats. Under each category, you will see the various types of crimes, and under other threats, you will notice natural disasters. It's not a crime, but it's a threat to security, as we could see currently with the Bahamas, and of course we've had our past experience with hurricanes throughout the region. In the 1990s, insecurity became problematic in the region because countries started to experience increases in crime and violence. According to the Caribbean Human Development Report of 2012, insecurity not only restricts the capacity of people to exercise their freedom of choice and their autonomy, but it reinforces inequalities because it mainly affects vulnerable people. According to Kofi Annan, you cannot have peace without security, and you cannot have security without inclusive development. And so in the 1990s, citizen security began to take prominence because we in the Caribbean saw that the strategies we were using were not working, in that we were focusing on strategies which focused on anti-gang and counter-narcotics, and we were getting assistance from the US in that regard. And we also believed that if we were more assertive when it came to law enforcement, we placed tougher penalties and longer sentences in the region and placed people in prison longer, that this would deter crime and violence. But as we can see, this has not worked. According to Lessing in 2011, the sweeping criminalization and social stigmatization and marginalization of entire segments of the population, especially young men, non-violent offenders and drug users, was a step backwards, in some cases strengthening rather than lessening the power of criminal organizations. So the Caribbean saw it fit to change its strategy and focus on citizen security. Now, there are many definitions for citizen security. However, it has evolved throughout time. And this one is my favorite because it incorporates a responsible state, active citizenship, and it is rights-focused. According to Muga, 2012, he stated, at the heart, citizen security is rights-focused. It is framed and backed by the state, but guided and shaped through active public engagement. Citizen security is consistent with, it doesn't replace, the wide variety of successful policing strategies, such as problem-solving strategies, community policing strategies, and intel-led policing. In addition to our specific policing strategies and tactics, citizens' security policies also encompass an array of activities that seek to improve general safety, prevent violence, and reduce crime. These can include, but are not limited to, the redesign, renewal, and upgrade of urban spaces, targeted job creation, apprenticeship and employment placement programs, parent support activities, and formal and informal mediation programs. The idea of citizen security also places the responsibility on the citizens, as they are expected to participate actively in co-production of their security in partnership with state agencies. This means that citizens must actively engage in problem solving in their communities and in demanding greater accountability among state agencies, including the police and the courts. It means taking greater responsibility for their own security and their own behavior, respecting the rights and integrity of others, and acknowledging their responsibility towards fellow citizens. Okay, so the region saw it fit to take a citizen security approach, which was comprehensive and multi-sectoral, meaning all sectors in government would be involved, including the citizens, foundation, the citizens. Strengthening the design and implementation of policies and programs at the local level, enhancing evidence-based management and rigorous management of data and statistics, because we use data and statistics to determine where there are hotspots, what is happening in various communities, in order to develop strategies to combat them. And of course, participation of civil society as a complement to public action and prevention tasks. So in 1998, the government of St. Lucia decided that the Royal St. Lucia Police Force needed a strategic review and institutional appraisal. So our transition to citizen security started in the 1990s. In 2001, a safety and a study on the fear of crime was conducted in St. Lucia by Professor Ramesh Diosaran, and his study found that the fear of crime in St. Lucia was rather high. It was at 85%. And the public confidence in the police was very low. This created a lot of discussion on the way forward with regards to police reform. And in 2002, the implementation process of the strategic review of the force commenced, with Mr. Taylor, a British consultant, being hired to assist in the formation of the Police Reform Committee, comprising of gazetted officers and a few British reformers. A Police Reform Implementation Team Secretariat was also formed in order to help the force transition from a closed system or traditional policing to a more open system, that is community policing, where we would have dialogue and communication, consultation with our communities and stakeholders. As a result, a corporate plan was developed for the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, the first corporate plan, and a mission, vision, strategic objectives, and philosophy was also created. At that time, it was decided that since Marshall Station was officially opened in 2002, that it would be the pilot station for community policing. And so officers were specially trained in community policing, and the idea was that they were not supposed to perform any other duties but community policing. By implementing community policing in St. Lucia, the force began to develop a better rapport, relationship, communication with the public, and a better networking system with our stakeholders in order to provide a better service. However, over the years, community policing has not been practiced the way it was intended due to lack of finance, manpower, and other resources over the years. 2018, based on our security architecture, it was determined that there was a need to revitalize the Royal St. Lucia Police Force by introducing territorial-based accountability to improve internal processes and capabilities in order to have a more effective and impactful organization. Hence, consultants were hired by the government of St. Lucia, and in April, we had some meetings and consultations with stakeholders where key result areas were identified, including citizen security. It was decided that there was a need. What is going on with this thing? It was decided that there was a need to take a comprehensive approach to citizen security in St. Lucia, and so a survey was conducted, national survey in St. Lucia, where we had 1,224 respondents, of which 93.2% were St. Lucians. And as we can see, 75% were worried about crime, 78% felt that their surroundings gave more opportunities for crime, 94% were not confident that the police would respond in an emergency within 15 minutes if they called, 89% were dissatisfied with police service, 91% were dissatisfied with the judicial system, and 82% were worried to go out at night. There were also other surveys conducted in 2010 and 2012 and 16, and the fear of crime in St. Lucia fluctuated between 64% and 78%. As a result of the survey conducted in 2018, it was decided that there was a need to examine the challenges across the citizen security value chain, which would be crime prevention, investigation and prosecution, and rehabilitation, and the prison system. And as you can see, some of the challenges identified would be high incidence of serious crime cases, such as burglary, sexual assault, homicide, drug offenses, and vehicle theft. The ineffective deployment of police resources impacts police omnipresence, and under investigations and prosecution, the fact that the laboratory was closed twice after it reopened or restarted, and the fact that the courts we still have a backlog of cases, and the prisons or our correctional facility is overcrowded, because we're supposed to, the capacity is 500, and we normally have a little over 500 in our case. It was decided that there was a need to take a comprehensive approach to citizen security across those areas: crime prevention, investigation, trial, prosecution, and convictions, and rehabilitation. And so there was an identification and recommendation of key initiatives across crime prevention, gap analysis, and identified solutions to improving the investigation process. Issues across prosecution and conviction processes were identified, and key solutions were prioritized. There was an analysis of the root causes of recidivism, and gaps were identified in relation to the current rehabilitation initiatives and solutions recommended. There was a lab which took place between the 29th of October 2018 and the 14th of December 2018 with our stakeholders, and 16 solutions, 12 game changes, and 1 enabler were identified, and Mrs. Gardner-Hippolyte will go into detail on this information, but I just wanted you to see some of the work that took place during the labs. The outputs or the targets selected to achieve during the lab as follows. Those are the main ones. 45% reduction in serious crime by 2020, 30% reduction in recidivism rate by 2020, and 30% improvement in public perception of crime and safety by 2020. Although Mrs. Gardner will go into detail with regards to St. Lucia's plan for the future of citizen security, I just wanted to look at it in a broad context. We need to remember that we must have policies that are citizen security focused. We must remember that technology is there. It's not just CCTV, but there are other technologies that we can use to help us with citizen security. In addition to the fact that we're not just citizens in St. Lucia, but we're citizens in the online world. We go online every day, we check our emails, we use our credit cards online, and we have to be aware of the fact that our identity can be stolen, our computers can be hacked, we can be harassed online. And so these are the things that we need to look forward to protecting when it comes to citizen security, in addition to what we're doing already. Training across the board is always needed and necessary, and of course, future research, because when you look at the research done in St. Lucia, it's not a lot, and so it's important that we catalog our journey when it comes to our transition to citizen security and record the lessons learned so that persons who come behind can see what we went through and not make the same mistakes that we did. And I'm rounding off because the MC is giving me the look. So the last quote, which is by President Obama: citizens remind us why civil society is so essential. When people are free to speak their minds and hold their leaders accountable, governments are more responsive and more effective. When entrepreneurs are free to create and develop new ideas, then economies are more innovative and attract more trade and investment, and ultimately become more prosperous. When communities, including minorities, are free to live and pray and love as they choose, when nations uphold the rights of all their people, including perhaps especially women and girls, then those countries are more likely to thrive. If you want strong, successful countries, you need strong, vibrant civil societies. When citizens are free to organize and work together to make communities healthier, the environment cleaner, and the world safer, that's when real change comes. So I will end by saying that citizens cannot and should never be forgotten when we are developing our security strategies, because citizens are fundamental in that process. We cannot miss the opportunity to join with our citizens to identify problems and to implement solutions in order to foster public, social, political, and economic order. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Seeley, for a very insightful presentation. And from Ms. Seeley's presentation, you would have heard that 89% of respondents stated that they would be dissatisfied with police service, and 91% were dissatisfied with the judiciary. I must applaud the Commissioner for summoning his executive and his senior corps and police officers to be present so that they can hear what the public has to say about their service. So that today, moving forward, that we're all going to assist in moving the organization and moving the country into a citizen security approach. Now, just to remind you that this activity is being streamed live by the RSS Facebook page. Our second presenter, no stranger, Ms. Sharon Gardner Hippolyte, Deputy Head, Performance Management and Delivery Unit, and she's coming from the Office of the Prime Minister of St. Lucia. So that means there's some level of seriousness being afforded to this issue. And Ms. Gardner will be presenting on the criminal justice system required transformations for adoption to a citizen security approach. With over 16 years of experience in criminal justice system, Ms. Gardner spent a career introducing and implementing innovative solutions in the management of the state's legal framework towards effecting tangible results that benefit everyday citizens. From reducing the waiting time of birth certificates processing from an average of 3 weeks to 15 minutes, very good, Ms. Gardner, and birth records rectification from average 1 year to 4 hours during a stint as Registrar of Civil Status, to improving the disposal rate of family court cases and criminal cases during the time as magistrate, as well as improving the disposal rate of High Court's commercial, civil, and criminal matters as Registrar of the Supreme Court. She continues a passion in being result-driven in her everyday life. With the agenda of improving the lives of St. Lucians close to her heart, she invested time to the National Advisory Committee for the UNIFEM, Women, Gender and Poverty Project, the St. Lucia Youth Business Trust, as well as lent assistance to the police force on their community outreach programs. She also dedicated her time in providing expert training to the Royal St. Lucia Police Force in preparing effective prosecution briefs, improving the understanding of laws and procedures on sexual offense matters, thanks to a vast experience as Crown Counsel and Magistrate. Ms. Gardner is an avid swimmer and triathlete. She represented St. Lucia in swimming at the OECS Games from 1982 to 1992. Ms. Gardner just completed a marathon, well, that's in 2018, and she ran 26.2 miles non-stop. Today, she continues the joy in being physically active by running every chance that she gets and volunteers as a swimming coach for young swimmers and ensuring the 2 young children are as physically active as she is, if not more. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Ms. Sharon Gardner Hippolyte.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Philip. Honorable Minister, with your permission, I'd like to adopt the protocol that was previously established. Transformation in the criminal justice system towards a citizen security approach. What exactly does this mean? Today, I'd like to walk you through 6 key areas. 1, context and case for change, the vision for St. Lucia's security, a focus area on crime prevention, investigation and prosecution, rehabilitation, and then finally, I'm going to tell you about our progress to date. 2013-2018, burglary and robbery, the statistics are not good. If you look at the chart prevented, you will notice that our rates are going up and unfortunately our arrests are not. The same thing applies for grievous harm and murder. And as every citizen, when we look at these statistics, we cannot help but feel alarmed, feel concerned, and feel that we really need to make some kind of positive change in our country, because this is unacceptable. It is no longer allowed for us to be able to look at these statistics as members of our society and think that this can continue. It cannot. All of us know what the statistics are telling us already, that our hotspots are Castries, Grosley, Vieux-Fort, Dennery. We all know this in our minds. We all see it. We walk our streets and we feel it. A significant part of our serious crime are burglaries and robberies. You always hear people talking about, my phone got stolen, somebody broke into my house, someone held a gun at me. How many of us know people who have all these personal stories and we listen and we think we really need to do something? There has to be a change in our society. A survey, as Dr. Seeley indicated, was conducted in November of 2018. And again, the statistics, I will not count all of them out. However, I think it is important to note that people are not satisfied with the service that they are receiving. And if you are not satisfied with the service that you're receiving, as far as I'm concerned, the only way that you can go up is up. We have to make that change. And it has to be all of us getting together and deciding to make that change together, because it's the only way it can work. So what is our vision? In 2022, we envisage a St. Lucia that has a 45% reduction in serious crime, a 100% clearance of all backlog cases in the courts, and a 30% reduction in recidivism. With only these things in our mind and as our targets, we have to realize that this is how we're going to be able to achieve that change. We must focus on these goals. In order to achieve them, we have 12 things that we have to do. Crime prevention, investigation and prosecution, and rehabilitation, each of them have areas under them that need to be that were identified, and we are now focusing our energies on. Crime prevention, we're going to go towards police omnipresence. How many times do we walk around and we think to ourselves, where are the police? They used to be on the street corners a lot more. They used to be out in our communities. We used to see them more all the time. And we want them to go back to that way. We want them to be more omnipresent, and we want them to include us. Their police force have done a lot of things over the last few months, and part of their approach and their strategy has to become more omnipresent. And some of you may have noticed in areas that the police are patrolling, they're out on the streets, they're doing traffic checks, and they are assisting the public in a manner like they haven't done in a very long time. And I think it is important that we applaud them for their service. Safe City TV programming. I'm a big advocate for CCTV because you can only station so many police officers in so many places. And at the end of the day, it is important for us to be able to have a presence that will capture everything. Coming from a prosecutor's background, at the end of the day, when you have that footage and you are able to present it in court, it would tell a story unlike any other witness can do. Strengthening community policing. This is one of the most important things that we can do in a citizen security approach. We need to ensure that we are including all our citizens, that we start to focus going back to neighborhood watches, community partnerships, and only with the police building partnerships with our communities are we going to be able to take back our streets one at a time. We need to empower our members in our communities. We need to organize, we need to volunteer, and we need to show our level of commitment that will allow us to have that 45% reduction in crime rate. One of the major things that we are hoping to do is to revitalize the police force. And there are 8 key things that are going to be done over the next few months into next year that will allow for this transformation. Without going into a lot of detail at this particular time, it can be discussed later. I wish to highlight that some of the things that need to be done with the police are establishing the standard operating procedures, reintroduce field training, a fitness test, and review of the uniform. One of the other things that the police are hoping to do is to second our crime scene officers to the forensic lab. That way it would allow for the officers to be under the direction of the forensic director. Investigation and prosecution. This is another key area in transforming towards a citizen security focus. We look at what has happened over the past, as indicated by Dr. Seeley, and we are very excited to say that the lab reopened in February. A lot of training has been done, and we are mobilizing to clear the backlogs and to be able to assist our police in doing more crime scene management in the coming years. This will allow us to be able to present better evidence when we go to court, so that that way our court and our juries are not waiting only on evidence by witnesses, but based on scientific evidence. Enhancing the operations of the judicial system. There are still backlogs at our courts, and unfortunately, it is really an issue of capacity. We don't have enough resources in the court system to be able to deal with this right now. However, there are plans underfoot to be able to organize a backlog project so that we can deal with these backlogs. This area, rehabilitation, most persons don't think that it's important. I, however, having worked in the system for over 16 years, realize that it is the most important area that we can focus on. Because at the end of the day, if you don't attack the problem and you don't assist persons who commit offenses and you don't give them an opportunity to become a productive member of our society, then all they're going to do is go back right out into our society and commit the same offense again. And the cycle continues. At Bordelais Correctional Facility, a lot of work has been done in relation to focusing on life skills and cognitive behavioral program. We want to be able to ensure that our persons who are at Bordelais are going to be receiving the necessary skills and tools so that they can come back out into society and be productive members. They're going to be receiving certification in TVET courses, from everything from hair cutting and crop and livestock production, carpentry, electrical and baking. Literacy and numeracy programs at Bordelais are also a way to be ensured that we are moving to a citizen-based approach. Substance abuse and mental health counseling is another area that needs a lot of attention, because a lot of our persons in our system, whether they remain or they go out, are experiencing a number of difficulties, whether it is from drug addiction, Boys Training Center. There is a lot of work that is being done at Boys Training Center in relation to formalizing their education, TVET training, and also employment, because again, our boys, when they leave Boys Training Center, need to have a job, they need to become productive members of society. The establishment of a court diversion program. Probation and parole and our youth empowerment are working extremely hard to ensure that our youth are going to be focused and allowing for an after-school program. When persons leave school, they'll be allowed to receive training, receive sports, do all types of activities that will keep them out of trouble, keep them out of the hands of the gangs. Now, I've gone through a number of things, and you ask to date. Sorry, I prefer to walk around. What is our progress to date? So we can see that we've opened a forensic lab, we've approved the parole board, the members have been appointed, the deployment of police officers in specific targeted areas. We have started with phase 1 of our CCTV facilities, so that way we can ensure that our prisoners and our inmates are getting qualified by the time they leave Bordelais. We want to be able to give them an opportunity. Having done a number of things by the police force, I showed you the trend early on. I showed you how things were not looking very good. However, you will notice now that the statistics are showing that as of May to today's, this weekend's date, last weekend's date, our crime has fallen. So in comparison to last year's figures, we are doing really well. And again, I need to say that the police are doing a fantastic job of being out there trying to help and to be part of our community. But the work is not done. There's a lot that has to be done, even more. And this is where we as members of our community need to become more involved, and we need to support the police. We need to support our various volunteer organizations and show that we can assist to continue to take this number down. We've had significant decrease in the areas of assault, 14%. CCTV has allowed for us to be able to show that when you have a traffic accident on the highway, instead of our citizens fighting it out with each other, they are shown the footage and they are settling. They're admitting guilt. They're realizing, you know what, it was my fault. This is my responsibility. And therefore it's allowing for us to refocus our energies and to be able to target other areas. Key rehabilitation initiatives at Bordelais are also progressing extremely well. They've had some of our voluntary organizations, like, companies that have volunteered of their time, like Caribbean Grains, showing culinary programs at Bordelais Correctional Facility. Look at all the bed that was baked. All I asked was, where can I get some? NELU is going to be starting in hopefully October with our electrical and plumbing and culinary program, so that when our gentlemen leave Bordelais, they can again, I repeat, become progressive members of our society. Repair work, again, is being done with respect to our certification in the TVET, literacy and numeracy. We are hoping to employ 2 permanent teachers at Bordelais to be able to roll out this program, but in the interim, temporary teachers have been giving of their volunteer time and assisting with literacy and numeracy at Bordelais. Substance abuse and mental health counseling. Recommended. They agreed to undergo volunteer and receive training from the Substance Abuse Advisory Council so that they can conduct early interventions with the inmates at Bordelais, and therefore to try and get them back on the right track. Bordelais is also in the process of hiring a psychologist so that they can treat a lot of the persons that are there. I'm sure not many of you know that 65 persons at Bordelais have mental health issues. That's a large number. That our psychologist is going to be able to give them the kind of attention that is needed. We still have a lot to do. We all need to participate, we all need to get involved, and we all need to volunteer. The police cannot do it alone. The whole point of moving to a citizen approach, security approach, is that it's not about the police. It's about all of us being part of this country we all love so dearly, St. Lucia. And all, because we want a safer St. Lucia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner, for a wonderful 15 minutes, 15 seconds. Sharon Gardner. I must say, Ms. Gardner, we have every confidence in you. As you were told prior, Ms. Gardner is the Deputy Head of the Performance Management and Delivery Unit, and that's the Office of the Prime Minister. So I know Ms. Gardner will assist in ensuring that the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, in conjunction with all stakeholders and citizens, will deliver on the mandate of St. Lucia's transitioning to citizen. Our third panelist, as you notice, we are going lower down the order. It's T for cricket, is Mr. Miguel Trim. Mr. Miguel Trim is a development professional who has worked in the field for over 10 years in various capacities within the youth, community, and social development sector. His official titles have included Youth and Sports Officer, Social Transformation Officer, and Local Economic Development. As the National Officer on the Carry Secure project in St. Lucia, promoting digitization within the criminal justice sector, data-driven decision-making, and advancing the SDG 16, which focuses on peace, justice, and strong institutions. Mr. Trim was a recipient of the prestigious UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office Chevening Scholarship. This opportunity for future global leaders afforded him the opportunity to attain a Master of Arts in Media and International Development with distinction from the University of Human Resource Management from the University of the West Indies, and is a certified project management professional. He is also an expert in the field of multimedia and digital web communication, and completed an advanced program in multimedia and web development from the Center for Development of Advanced Computing in India. His other interests include the arts, creative industries, and sports, and he is a skilled graphic and web designer, photographer, and videographer. Mr. Trim is an advocate of national development for youth and community to make most of their potential. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present Mr. Miguel Trim.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Mr. Phillips. With the permission of the Minister, I'd like to adopt the established protocol and wish everyone a good morning, a good afternoon, sorry. So my making for citizen security. So I will start with an introduction on the rise of citizen security, the importance of data and its challenges. I'll speak a bit about the Carry Secure project, which is the project I work on, and some of the gains we've seen from that, and then speak a bit about effective citizen security and the future for citizen security. So what is citizen security? I think following from some of the other panelists, we'll know that it encompasses more than citizen security sector reform or security sector reform. Taken together, citizen security entails the delivery of effective public safety measures in the context of broader democratic norms from broader national law and order approaches to policing and controlling crime. It is more than simply more boots on the ground or more vehicles and technical units, as much as these are useful, but it encompasses an array of ideas and activities intended to prevent and reduce violence, promote public security and access to justice, strengthen social bonds and cohesion, and reinforce the mutual rights. It encompasses citizens' active participation and collaboration. There is a compelling case for citizen security, as there is a growing acknowledgement that successful long-term public safety and security frameworks are also those that guarantee the rights of citizens, as the Minister alluded to. There is data that shows that investments in the prevention and violence are more cost-effective than mostly unproductive spending on public. Yet, as we know, evidence on its own is rarely a driver of policy transformation. And if you listen to any of the radio talk shows there are still frequent calls in the media and other forums for repressive policing, vigilante justice, and tougher or iron-hand incarceration measures, including even lowering the age of criminal responsibility for adolescents and children. The UNDP Caribbean Human Development Report 2012, and I refer to this document quite a lot during my presentation. States that the search for citizen security leads towards development, not partial strategies such as repressive-only measures that are ineffective in eradicating the cause of insecurity, affect basic liberties, and thus risk eroding the legitimacy of the democratic system. Citizen security is a concept deliberately introduced to reconcile these tensions by emphasizing, firstly, the responsible state, and secondly, active citizenship. So what do we mean by the responsible state and active citizenship? States have the ultimate obligation to protect their citizens and to assure basic guarantees of safety and well-being. By active citizenship, as I stated before, it's not just the police, but also citizens that play a key role in ensuring citizen security. Muga, in his 2017 research, stated that the central ingredient of successful state intervention is firstly, the development of reliable and real-time accurate data analysis and the tailoring of policies and programs to social, economic, political, and related problems and realities faced in each setting or state or community. I was very glad to see the earlier presentation which focused a lot on data and the data that was generated from surveys and research. So what the Caribbean HDR 2012 found efficiently address the root causes of violence and crime, especially amongst our youth. Also, robust policies and programs could not be developed in the absence of timely and reliable data. It stated that the lack of standardized data and data collection methods and the inability to disaggregate statistics The theory of change is that CariSecure will improve the decision-making process in Caribbean public institutions by providing qualitative and quantitative tools for analysis and decision-making and supporting their incorporation into national citizen citizens in state institutions are informed, tested, and reliable, and result in better policies and programs. There are some challenges, however. There are challenges in the legal framework, the lack of standardized data collection in the various of the activities at the operational, tactical, and strategic level for the life of the project. As illustrated, the project has undertaken several strategic assessments, of which the findings have informed key implementation strategies at the operational level. The project supports building institutional and systems capacity of public sector agencies to collect, analyze, and use crime data to inform targeted policies. To analyze crime data to develop and design innovative and data-driven policies and programs. At the strategic level, collectively, these are all intended to increase the importance of data for decision-making and promote positive data use. Statistical institutes at the technical and political level to share, analyze, and integrate different sources of information. On the board, you will see the members of the National Carry Secure Task Force. The National Task Force has already been endorsed by Cabinet and has started working towards our project's goals. It is hoped that even after Carry Secure, this grouping will continue to function as a citizen security task force to advance some of the goals of the project for the country. Framework, which promotes and establishes a consistent and standardized national approach to data collection, measurement, and analysis across national agencies. It feeds into the work of UN agencies such as the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, UNODC, and UNICEF. That allows us to capture data on how citizen security policies are working. It also consists of the citizen security data collection form and coding structure. This captures Zero project. It was developed by UNODC and first published in 2015, and it's the first common framework to group all kinds of criminal offenses into categories that are useful for producing crime statistics internationally. Using ICCS categories enhances comparability of data at the regional level on crime and supports effective program planning, development, and implementation. Instead of looking at the various nuances in the various legal codes of different islands, for example, you'll have a common code, or these offenses will be coded based on the behavior. So only criminal justice data were used to measure crime, it is now widely acknowledged that administrative information alone is not enough and should be integrated with this CVS results for more qualitative, in-depth understanding of crime and victimization. A lot has been done for the CVS in terms enumerators from the Central Statistical Office will be in communities for the next 6 weeks, and by early 2020, we will have analysis and reports on the data set. The second